right, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Hicksville Exempted Village Board of Education to order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Carrier?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Here.
Mrs. Mazur?
Here.
Mr. Methvin? Mr.
Here.
Methvin? Mr.
Here.
Vetter?
Let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome visitors. Good to see everybody. Director of Operations report.
Getting started for our department too much, and we're already ready for the year. So we're busy setting up for graduation, get everything lined up for that. Been kind of a weird spring. It's either cold, rainy, or real warm, and everything's growing real fast. So we've been busy mowing and trying to keep everything trimmed up, especially now that we added about 8 or 9 acres of grass with the new addition. So we have a lot more grass to mow. Working with contractors on warranty items for the field house, also punch list items that still need fixed. Also need a schedule, it's hard to believe, but we'll need a schedule probably here in July, our 11-month walkthrough with all the contractors, making sure all the items are taken care of before the 1-year warranty period runs out. One item we have had some small issues with, the rubber floor by some of the doors along the perimeter. Had some cracks in it, and trying to find a date. They just contacted us last week, wanted to know when the last day of school was for students and staff. They said it'd probably take them 3 to 5 days to come in and repair the cracks in the rubber. And then also the whole outside perimeter around the outside lane, they're going to repaint all that gray. Right now they've patched here and patched there, and there's kind of like 3 different colors of shades of gray, I would say, and they're going to go through and just paint it all so it's all uniform all the way around. So that's going to be sometime in June, hopefully. Also this summer, I know Mr. Schaefer was working on a project for a projector, drop-down projector and screen in the main gym, and replacing the projector, which is pretty bad quality. It's 13 years old. Technology changes pretty fast. In the commons, and also 4 new TVs in there. They got TVs installed, but they were waiting on parts for the projector and the lift. So all that stuff should be in sometime in May. I checked with them about a month ago. They were still on schedule for sometime in June to do that. So hopefully that all gets taken care of this summer. We did meet, and we had some people ask what the summer hours were going to be for the field house, if they were going to change, if people could walk later in the morning, if they could come in earlier in the day. Talked with the athletic department, and all my first shift custodians come in and work 7 to 3, and for us to do our deep clean and stuff out there, and all of Lucas's programs and other athletic programs in there, it was decided to keep the hours the same. Normally, it's kind of slowed down quite a bit now that it's been summertime. I don't think we've had. I think it's been April 27th, might have been the last person when we had somebody actually get a new field house membership fob. So it's really slowed down, but we do have about 85 or 90 fobs, if I remember right. Right now. Also, still hoping for the big ass fan project for the 6 projects in the different locations in the building. I think the board's kind of waiting on pricing for fixing the road drainage, which, as you can tell, with Alexander Bebo doing the work where the band crest will be going, that could change our issue. It could make it a lot better. Could make it worse. Who knows? I did fill out a lot of paperwork for a Bureau of Workman's Comp grant for the fan project, and we were awarded on April 12th. We were awarded $15,000 towards that project. We cannot actually officially sign off on anything until the check has been deposited, either electronically or dated. We've received it, and we haven't received that yet as of this afternoon. So we can't actually move forward 100% with that. But they have give us prices back in February, and anyone that's a contractor knows anything, prices have keep going up and going up and going up. They did tell us if we didn't do something by June or first part of June, it was going to go up minimum 10% for the project. So that would pretty much be one whole year of cost savings. So if we didn't act on it. Also busy setting up all the inspections for our fire extinguishers, our sprinklers, our kitchen hood, our fire hydrants for June. Also waiting on the quote for the road drainage. I emailed Mr. Perry on Wednesday last week, and he thought he would be able to give us a budgetary number by tonight's meeting. I texted him at 4:30 today. I still have not heard back from him yet. I still don't have a quote. So unless he sent it directly to Mr. Countryman. I don't have any numbers for you on that. We've also, we have 4 newer buses. 3 of them are 4 years old, and 1 of them's 2 years old, and we have cameras on those buses inside out. We've had quite a few issues with the app. Some of it could be because we're Macintosh computers and they're not Mac compatible. None of the camera companies for buses are Mac compatible. Mr. Schaefer's tried to get things to work, being the bus barn's not on the school location at the bus barn, and using different dynamic IPs and hop-tos and all sorts of different things. We've had nothing but problems with them. Haven't had a lot of help with their tech support from REI. Cardinal Bus last Wednesday had an open house for the new facility, and John and I went to it mainly because they were doing an hour demo of REI cameras and how great they are. So they weren't too happy to see us there when we asked a million questions. And I got a call today. They're supposed to send 2 technicians here June 23rd, 24th because they want to get their cameras fixed. So that might take buying a cheap Hewlett-Packard Dell computer and having it down the bus barn and the bus drives to fix the problem, or they're going to figure out how to get it to work with our technology. So those are supposed to be here June 23rd and 24th. Also, main gym floor is supposed to be repaired July 12th, I believe. We had a basketball hoop last year up in the air right after volleyball season, about 27 foot up in the air, and nobody was in the gym, and the backboard, the glass just shattered. When that happens, there's a lot of weight on that backboard, it's a few hundred pounds, and it left all sorts of indentations in the wood floor and removed all the coating. So Heritage Floors is supposed to be in here July 12th and start working on filling those in so there's no rough spots. And also there's an area where some practice was held and they didn't have the right stuff underneath them, and they kind of scratched some of the new paint job. So they're going to touch that up, and while they're in here to recoat the auxiliary gym floor, so they'll be here for about 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, getting both gym floors ready for next year. Also, we're scheduled for the middle of July, end of July, for mulching the whole property. We got about 8 yards of mulch and did the main event entrance, so it looked nice for prom walk-in, but we have a mulch blower rented for the rest of the 90 yards, so that takes a little while. Also, waiting on a quote from Loop Asphalt on filling the cracks this summer. Every other year they do that, and so this would be the year for not restriping everything and resealing everything, but just filling in the cracks. And busy with contacting a lot of different contractors. The STEM program's going to be using the barn out back sometimes, and so lighting upgrades, extra entrance exit door, need fiber out there for phone and internet, fire suppression system getting quotes, fire alarm panel, running water to the building for the fire suppression. So working with a lot of different companies and getting multiple quotes. So, and on top of that, then it's summertime for all of our cleaning for the custodial staff. So I think that's in a nutshell what we've been working on the last few months. Been busy.
Eric, is with Loop Asphalt, I know out here there's an area where it's crumbling. Is that?
They'll put cold patch in there.
Okay.
Yeah, because anything over a 1/4 inch, they have just, it's called a Graco filler. And they go in, they fill it all with the tar, but anything large like that, they have cold pack that they'll put in there and patch
Okay,
it.
and then that filling of the cracks and stuff also would be all the new areas, right?
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, they come out and measure it, and then they'll
Okay.
give out an accurate price. So.
So I'm going to go off of that, because there is because I pull out of the main event parking, and there is a fairly.
Spot right in the middle?
Yeah.
Yep, that's one of them.
I mean, because they redid everything when we did the.
That's still the old. That's the original. They resealed it,
Yeah.
but reseal is pretty much just putting like a UV protector on it to help it from crumbling quicker. And that's just a crack probably. Had moisture down through there, and over the course of years, a lot of traffic on it. It has a geogrid through there too for high traffic, but there's a crack, and it's probably about that wide down through there. Probably about maybe 6 foot long.
That's the area I'm talking
Yeah.
about too, Jeff.
Yeah.
I was just curious, because I knew they came out and like redid some of the stuff after we.
Yeah, most of that was all along the edges, and it was all up in the bus loop and out by the road. Almost all
Yeah,
of that
there
was.
was
in
an
the
area
parking
though
lot.
in the main event parking lot though too, but
Yep.
at that time, that was not crumbling. So-
Yeah, there's 2 of them back by the playground that went all the way across the road. That was about 2 inches wide too. That
Yeah.
the end of the one back there by that main drain.
Right.
That storm.
So last time you were in, you talked about the road, the drainage issue, and that you were going to have them see if the appropriate amount and the grade was correct. Did you have somebody come in and measure that? What was the result of that?
According to Fannie Howie, it was put in per specs. According to the independent company, It all depends on what benchmark they used. He came in and said that he thought the road was 4.5 inches low. But then you go back all the original prints which I sent him originally, and if you use the benchmark, which is the pin in the southeast corner of the retention pond, and he went back out and recalibrated everything, and it's a lot closer to what his initial estimate was. So
are we looking at whatever we're going to end up doing out there is going to all be on us?
yeah, and right now the best way to fix it would be to run the line all the way east to the creek, but you have to have the landowner approve it, and the landowner has many reasons why he doesn't want to allow that. So we do have a 20-foot easement where we currently run from the retention pond. So right now the idea is to run that stormwater on the east side of the road, run it north along their property line to pretty much where the hill is right now, then run it east to our property line, and then run it north again to the property line, and then run it in that same 20-foot easement that goes out there. We can't tie it directly into that existing line because that line's too high. So they were coming out on Wednesday or Thursday last week to shoot that to see if that drain line from the retention pond was dead center of our easement, or if it was on one side or the other of the easement, to see if they could go next to it, or if they have to put one below it and move both.
I guess my concern going forward is with them building now, if we do something, you're getting an estimate to get it fixed, and if we take corrective actions now, and then they're done building it a year from now, and that affects our property and how things run, I'm concerned.
If we do ours, we'll cap off where their water won't backfill into ours. My biggest concern is what they're doing right now is, so like our building, all the rainwater used to hit the ground, and if it's a downpour, it doesn't soak into the ground, it sheds across the road, and then we have flooding issue. Right now, they're going to be building a building that has downspouts. All their downspouts goes to a retention pond like what we have. All their parking lots and the whole property like what we have storm drains all around our property. So we collect all of our water and it goes to a retention pond. It has to go to the creek at the same rate as what it did before we ever built here. So they have to do the same thing on their property. They have to collect the water, all their water on their site, put it in the retention pond, which is 8.542 acres, I think. And they have to collect all that water, put it in the retention pond, and then gradually go out. They can't just dump it into a creek and, flood a creek. So they have to gradually let it go out. So what they're doing might fix their problem, because that's where all the flooding is, down there on the south end of our property, where their property is. It could help our problem a lot. But if we pay to have it fixed on our own, they're going to probably help the issue, but we're going to cap off where their water can't get back onto us, and then we're just getting rid of our water.
We're waiting on that price, as Eric said, but Eric and Mike and I have talked, and with that project going on down there, we almost feel like we should not do anything and wait, because potentially, as Eric just said, that could fix our problem. And if we've already spent the money and wouldn't have had to, see what I'm saying?
I would recommend taking the money and, definitely get the budgetary number. This is what it's going to cost to fix. And let's just say it's $50,000. I have no idea. And you take that $50,000 and you set it off to the side, and hopefully you never need to use it for it. And then you wait, because they're going to do all their site work and stuff first, before they start building their building. And within a year, they plan on having that open in next year. So within a year, you'll know if, hey, that took care of our problem, and you have that extra money just set off the site you don't need to use.
That makes sense.
But I also know that's also some of the projects that we're looking to get done. They're not going to get done unless there's money available either. So.
And I know that project is a project that you guys wanted, resolved before we did any go-ahead on the big-ass fan project that Eric's been talking about. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that project or not.
Where are we, Mike, budget from the building project?
We do have some money still there that hasn't been encumbered, so a little over $250,000.
I don't know about you guys, but I kind of feel like we need to wait for that estimate. I wouldn't mind if we need, if we get the estimate next week that it's within reason that we want to
I did just get a text from Mr. Perry. He says, "You haven't overlooked my email. I did not send it yet. I apologize. I have my end of it figured up, and I'm waiting on Kellogg's from Eden to get back with me on their end of it. I think doing this will be the cheapest. I brought them down on Thursday, and they thought they would have something figured up by now. I contacted them this morning, and they thought they would have it to me today, but I haven't heard anything from them yet. Again, I apologize for not having it to you by tonight." So, should have something, I would think, by the end of the week. So,
Well, my thought is that I think we'd be making a mistake if we don't at least go with 4 of the 6 items by fan areas by the June cutoff. Because those 4, the payback, I'm not sure right now, I think it's less than 6 years, maybe 4.6 years or something,
with
the $15,000.
Yeah.
So I think would be best to make sure that we take advantage of that. Now, the other 2, the payback's a lot longer. That is maybe a different decision. I don't know. But
That can maybe be held off until we solidify the road issue.
The bad thing is those are the 2 areas that I did the whole project for,
Well, right.
and then found out the payback wasn't
There's
exactly
the
what.
biggest difference on
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah.
It's a comfortable factor.
Yeah. If you take them all in there, if you take all 6 projects and you take your $15,000 off, and if you look at it, you do them now and you don't have a 10% increase on price, you're actually saving $25,000, $26,000, and your payback period ends up being, on all of them combined, less than 10 years combined.
is it about 8.9
Yeah,
or something?
yeah, but it's less than 9, but not by much, yeah.
The total
If it's less than 5 years, to me, they're no-brainers, especially like the field house, which is like 3-year payback.
The total cost of all 6
It's like
is,
$144,000, I believe, and then we got a $15,000 rebate, or the check from your work, the comp we should be getting sometime soon, so be
and it would go up,
129.
and it would go up 10%.
Yeah, so it'd be 144 times 10%, we go up 14 something, yeah, 14.4.
Almost as
And our-
much as the grant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it
our
would
cost
cost us
savings
the
a
grant.
year is 15,396 or something,
Right.
so it'd almost be 1 year cost savings.
So if the whole project was done, you'd have approximately 125,000 at least, around there, left
Yeah, about
for the
129.
road, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
so,
actually probably a little more than that, but we still have, I don't think there's any more surprises, hopefully, as far as on our costs with the building project. So if we take out about 130, we should have at least about 145 or so left in the building project.
and I completely understand waiting for the number, hopefully that number, have it by the end of the week, and if you need to have a special meeting or something to completely understand. Can't officially sign off on anything until after we get the check, so.
Do you have any idea when we'll get that check for the 15?
He was
It was-
hoping we were having it by tonight.
I think they said 4 to 6 weeks, and it was from
April
April 12th. So here in the next, almost any time.
Okay.
We said 6 weeks, so hopefully they're not over their 6 weeks, but the BWC is usually pretty good at getting payments out. They do a really good job. So I would expect to see something very soon.
The 145 that would be left over if we did this project, is that spoken for anything, or that's excess funds at this point?
That's excess funds as far as that. It's not spoken at this time. So as long as we don't have any other things that we would need to pay towards, that amount would be there for us to use for fixing the water problem or applying it towards our lease or some other activity project.
Why don't you push them really hard for that quote and let us know as soon as you get it?
Okay.
Because we're up against that June
Mhm.
time frame to save the 10%. I think that it's important to try and save that.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
Do you know, Eric, like, we can't really approve that until we get the 15, right?
Correct, yeah,
Are
yeah.
they okay with a verbal?
If we give the wink and a nod, they will hold the pricing and not make us sign anything until
That's
Were
good.
you talking?
Well, to whoever.
I just don't want to stick anyone, so, all of a sudden you get a quote back from Perry, and it's $200,000 to fix the road, the drain, wait a second, we're not doing the project, none of them now, and I already told somebody a wink and nod that, hey, start
Right.
getting stuff worked, it's just like an 8-week lead time on parts, so we're hoping to get it done over the summer too, so, you figure you're a month, you're about 2 months out once you order stuff.
Well, we wait, and I can, shoot an email if we need
Yeah,
to call
just
a quick little meeting.
let us know.
Sound okay?
Yep.
Unless you want him to, well, you can't really go ahead with the 4 either, can you, till you get the 15?
Correct. Can't go with any of them.
All right, well,
Officially, yeah.
okay, just let them know that we're pretty confident on the 4, but we have to wait for that 15.
Yeah, well, once you get the check, you have 90 days from the date of the check or the electronic deposit to sign off on something.
Well, that might be a problem too, because, depending on supplies,
Yeah.
we've been struggling to get stuff in as everybody is. so.
Yep.
Well, if you've got a PO, wouldn't that count? If the fan company has a PO?
I would think the 90 days, there would be flexibility if we can document that there is a supply chain
believe so,
issue.
too.
I would be surprised that we would get in trouble for that. Now, if we delayed the project or something that we were at fault, that might be a
Right.
different story.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you then, hopefully very soon.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Okay, principals reports. Who's going first?
First of all, I apologize for being late. So our state testing is complete. ELA scores will be released June 15th, but math, social studies, and social studies, and science actually came out May 10th, and so it's never come out that early. Our third grade, these are the preliminary scores, are at a 79%, 20% higher than what the state average is, and our fourth grade is at a 96%, which is a 30% higher percentage rate than the state. On May 11th, we celebrated our third and fourth grade students with a Yes Day. During state testing, students earned tickets when meeting the testing expectations. So students needed 500 tickets to earn this day. The day included, and they had a part in saying what they wanted the Yes Day to include. So when they got to school, we had a DJ photo booth ready for them, ice cream at 9:30 in the morning, followed by epic recess with a bounce house and a dunk tank that included many teachers that were dunked. A Happy Meal box filled with treats and a coupon to get a Happy Meal because Hicksville was not able to do all of the third and fourth grade students with a Happy Meal at that time. Then we bussed them over to the park and we had Red Angel Pizza over there, and then they came back for movie and technology. It was an exhausting day, but it really, I think before my watch died, I had 22,000 steps. I have never walked that much in my life. But it really took many, many individuals to make this day as effortless as it was, but it really was a successful day, and many kiddos said it was the best day of their life. I had a little first grader that said, "Mrs. Kaufman, this is the first concert I've ever been to without my mom." So just to watch those kiddos was just a joy. A huge thanks to Mrs. Montgomery for the hours that she put into this. I thought I was creative until I met her, but she comes to me with many ideas, and I'm like, let's do it. So the kids really had a great time. And just all of the groups and organizations, Dairy Delight opened early for us. I mean, there was just a lot of community buy-in as well. And I'd also like to thank Red Angel Pizza. They contacted me in the late summer last year and asked if they could partner with the elementary to see some kind of reading incentive that they could offer. So they made up little coupons that said reading for Red Angel. And so got with the teachers, we figured out some monthly AR goals that the kids could try to reach, and then when they reach them, they will get a brag tag for that month that they put on their necklace. And then every after the 4th month that they achieve those brag tags, and they get a a certificate for a free personal pizza. And so today, we actually had a pizza party for 13 students that reached that AR goal every month. So just kudos to Red Angel for partnering with us to encourage kiddos to read.
Thanks. Rave reviews, by the way, for the Yes Day.
Do what?
Rave reviews for Yes Day.
I think we might only be able to do it about every other year. Not for the older people.
Thank you.
The 6th grade had a successful Hicksville Shake again this year. First off, congrats to Casey Hedge on being the Shake champion. I want to give a big thank you to all the staff that for their time to help, and also the community members that helped donate their time as well. Thank you to the Hicksville Bank for donating a $250 scholarship to Casey, the winner, and the Hicksville PTO for sponsoring the luncheon. That was actually a secret round 3 luncheon where they were judged on their table etiquette, on their dinner conversation, and how they handled lunch with the judges. Our 8th grade just came back from Washington, D.C. The bus drivers, tour guides, and other people that stayed in the hotel all commented about how good our kids were and how their high expectations here at school carried over to Washington, D.C. as they could compare themselves to other schools, and it was a breath of fresh air for how our kids did compared to all the other schools around the area. With that, also thanks to all the chaperones. It's not possible without the chaperones to go on this trip, and Mr. Chamberlain, Mr. Clausing said that these were an amazing group of individuals. They handled the kids very, very well. So great job to those chaperones who committed their time. As Mr. Chamberlain said, our 2022 Ohio State test preliminary scores were released. Our middle school did a wonderful job. We have lots of tests in middle school. So our 5th grade science scored 85% passage rate on the preliminary scores. That's 5th grade science. Our 8th grade science got a 90% passage rate. 5th grade math had an 87% passage rate. 6th grade math, 80%. 7th grade math, 90%. And 8th grade math, 75%. And these percentages are all 20 to 40% higher than the state averages. Finally, if your student is required to attend summer school, you should have received a letter in the mail. It was sent out on Friday. Please look over that information and contact Mrs. Schock, the secretary, to confirm your spot at summer school.
Thank you.
I think that's the first set of siblings too, right?
Yes. I've been trying to get Mrs. Hedge to have a parenting class, since she does have 2 consecutive winners. Maybe I can sign up for it and try to get my kids act a little better.
All right, high school principal report. The end of core state testing was completed at the beginning of May. First off, like they said, it's a team effort. It takes an entire K-12 staff to pull it off, the logistics, the sharing of spaces. We go with no bells day after day after day, so the teachers holding kids and releasing kids at the appropriate times. Mrs. Zuber's a saint. She is the holding area for our students that are, I guess, displaced by the small group testing for 504 and IEP students. And of course, just the fact that, again, the 3 of us working with our building test coordinators, which would be our 3 guidance counselors, Mrs. Chamberlain, Mrs. Montgomery, and of course, Ms. Veers. And it's actually Veras, by the way, which I found that out the last day she was here. So the entire time she's been here, we've been calling her Miss Veers, but you know what, that's how I was introduced to her, and we just kind of went with it, so I thought that was somewhat entertaining. But anyway, they've all done an amazing job. We're very lucky to have the 3 of them there as our building test coordinators. Our state testing data, again, is preliminary data. I will say as a high school, we've done very well again this year based on the state averages. Like Mr. Altman said, we're anywhere from 20 points higher to 45 points higher than the state average for the preliminary data. And I know that when the official testing scores come out, we can finalize what we have. We will share that with our teachers and, of course, the district. The Hicksville Junior Senior Prom was held on Saturday, May 7th here at the school. It was a starry night. First off, I want to thank our junior class advisors. Every single year, it always seems like, the sky is falling, but we always pull it together, and we do an amazing job. I will say this, I want to give them an extra kudos because they chose to have post-prom on campus, and that is always an additional challenge. I would say this, it's hard to raise money to get kids to go to post-prom where it's easy, where other people take care of the kids. It was extremely hard when you didn't have as much money because of the COVID years to then have a post-prom on campus, which is very difficult because you have to manage everything. you have to entertain the kids. But the kids did a great job. They had a fun time. So again, I appreciate all the extra efforts for having the post-prom on campus. Senior project presentations took place on Wednesday, May 11th. All of our seniors, of course, presented. First off, Mr. Dave Blue, he organizes that event every single year along with the help of Mr. Andy Gehagen. And our seniors did a great job, and a lot of our judges, as they were leaving the building and as I've seen them in the community, they really said our seniors did a great job. So we appreciate them taking time away from their busy day and coming in here and volunteering to be judges for all of our seniors and their projects. Recently, last Tuesday, the Val and Sal Luncheon at Rotary, that occurred. An interesting fact here, we have 8 valedictorians, in case you didn't know that. I think that's more valedictorians than we've had in the last 5 years combined. This class is definitely an effort class. The kids have done an amazing job. In fact, it's kind of funny because, I mean, technically not all the vowels even fit in the top 10% because there's only 58 kids in this graduating class. So I have kids joking about having 393s and 396s and finishing like 12th and 13th in the class. It's somewhat entertaining to say, but again, kudos to that class, and I mean it when I say it. They are an effort class. They've supported one another throughout their 4 years. In fact, I believe Sydney Bland made a comment at Rotary. She said, you know, we all wanted to be valedictorians, and anytime a student would start to slip, we would support each other to hopefully keep them in their 4.0 GPA. On Wednesday, May 18th, we had our senior awards banquet here in the Commons. Our graduating seniors attending college earned over $1.34 million in scholarships, so that was exciting. A special shout out to all our local scholarship donors in our community. You know, Hicksville does an amazing job with all the local businesses and groups of providing opportunities for our students to earn scholarships here locally, and it is very helpful. And again, to the parents of future seniors, again, we always have scholarships listed on our website. We email them out often. We talk to the kids about them in class. Having a senior daughter who's going to college, I found out it was like to be a parent. You know, you're constantly pulling teeth, making sure they're getting things done throughout the way or along the way. But again, without our local businesses and the people in the community to provide those opportunities, you know, some of these kids wouldn't have that extra cash flow to, again, support their education and, of course, buy books and things like that. Future events, 2 big ones coming up. Tomorrow is the 4 County Career Center Senior Recognition Banquet. That's at 9 a.m. Mr. Countryman and I always attend that each and every year, so it's exciting to see that event each year. And, of course, your reminder, commencement is this Sunday, May 29th at 2 p.m. It is in the high school gymnasium. I would highly recommend that you are there by 1:30 p.m. Thank you. Do I need to say anything else, Mrs. Jones? You're looking at me.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
I wondered, okay, my question is, a few years ago, I remember we had that, we looked at the data from, like, how we are on the report card for seniors. And it was you only got credit for a kid going to college if they went in the state of Ohio.
Correct.
Is that still true?
That's the Prepare for Success score,
Right.
and we kept on scoring very low. I think we had a D
Right.
the one year. We were excited because most schools are D's and C's. Unfortunately, this year I haven't had time to dive into that, but the way it used to be is, number one, if you're a public school, I think you're required to submit that data. Number two, if you're a private college or university, they suggested that you presented that data. And then if you had students that were attending a post-secondary educational institution outside of state, they didn't even try to collect that data. And with us being so close to the border, we have kids going to, again, Purdue, Fort Wayne, IPFW, Trine University, St. Francis. I mean, I think we have probably 10 kids going to those universities alone out of this class. So our Prepare for Success score may not be the best again this year.
Well, as I was reading about the valedictorians, where they were going, that's what made me think of it. I
Yes.
thought, oh, this high-achieving class, and it may not
I know.
look still well.
And again, I know we talk about this each and every year. Graduation requirements are changing again for next year's graduating class. The data they collect and how they collect it, I mean, it's suspect. You just try to figure out how to play the game, and we do the best we can.
It's crazy. Thanks.
Okay, 4 County report.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
I'll start off with, as you all know, Mr. Jeff Slattery's been selected as the superintendent of the 4 County Career Center. I really come here tonight for the kudos to the Hicksville school system and how Jeff handled himself and presented himself. There were 16 candidates. He interviewed with a total of, there would have been 21 people total, but out of that there was 3 that was the same. So 18 people, 18 different people, and he was the only candidate that had a unanimous out of all 21 people. So, and the 18 individuals. So looking forward to Jeff being, appreciate you guys not throwing anything at me. I know it's a sad day for Hicksville.
You notice we aren't clapping.
It's bittersweet, and I certainly understand that, but Jeff deserves to hold his head high, and Hicksville deserves to hold their head high that we got somebody representing us and looking out for us at that level too. And congratulations to Jeff, and congratulations to the Hicksville school system too. I think it speaks volumes for everybody involved. And he was not the only non-superintendent to apply for the position, but he was the only one that made it to the final interview process and then selected as a superintendent. He's replacing a very good superintendent, Mr. Meister. He's done more good for that school. I personally have told Tim and Connie, Connie Nicely being the treasurer, that Jeff will continue to build on all the good works that Tim has done and the previous superintendents there too. So don't fail us, Jeff. But no, it's an honor. It really is. It was an honor to be part of it. And congratulations, Jeff. So the 5-year forecast, we had this last week, and just so I don't get ahead of myself too much, our meeting next month won't be until after your guys' meeting, so it'll be July before you hear anything. And I'll actually be out of town for our July meeting, so it might be August before you hear from me. But the 5-year forecast is very solid. Everything looks good. There's still some money in revenue that's in dispute for County, in that the gas lines that go through there, some of that money's still in dispute yet, whether or not the schools are going to get it. The gas lines are appealing the decision on the amounts to them. So that's been, I think, 3 years now, and still tied up yet. So don't know when we'll have an answer on that, so they're not banking on that revenue. They definitely get part of it. It's just whether or not they get everything that they told they were going to do. On the expenditure side of the 5-year forecast, everything's pretty standard to any other school district. Number one expense is salary and benefits. It's 81% of the total budget. It's probably really close to what it is here. When I first got on the 4 county, it was at 83%. It's more probably in line with the rest of the state schools at 81% now. So from that standpoint, everything stands good. And for as long as I've been on the board over there, which is coming up on 9 years, and with the time that John McCullough was on the board from the Hicksville board, the food service never ran in the black. It's always ran in the red, and there was always a lot of conversation, especially when John was here. The reason it's in the black is after COVID, you have all the funding from the state for all the meals being paid. So the participation rate went up substantially, and because of that, it's actually ran 132K in the black this year. And I've never been there when it hasn't been negative, and I know some years it was pushing a couple 100K to the negative. So it's a big change, and that's the reason. We've also had some retirements and rehire. For next fiscal year, that's a $471,000 savings to the district. I know there's different feelings about hire or rehire, but we do that at 4 county, and this year it'll be a $471K savings to the district. Jeff mentioned tomorrow is I will not be able to be there tomorrow, Jeff and Keith, but there is the ceremony tomorrow at 9 a.m. It really is. If you ever get a chance to go over there and do that, there's roughly 2,200 people in there, and it's very nice. And they have you out somewhere between usually about 50 to 60 minutes is where they run all those kids through there. So they do it. It's well done. We're having quite a bit of over expenditure for the rooftop units that we're talking about. It's been a 3-year project to replace, I think, it's either 27 or 30 rooftop units. And it's already running a couple $1 million over budget just because of all the supply and demand and everything and not being able to get stuff. Should have been completed at the end of this year, and it'll at least go all of next year. So we backed off some stuff on it, but they have to be done. They're old. They're not. Some of them aren't working. Just can't get anything. Some of them have been on order for a year now. We still don't have them. So it's just what we're living in right now. That's everything that I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Thanks.
Thanks, Denny. Keith, Superintendent's report.
Yes, year end has been incredibly busy with end of the year stuff that we call it, and preparing for next year. It's no secret that the students are ready to get out and are eagerly awaiting summer vacation. I want to say that this year's been a very challenging year, and I had mentioned that. I know my admin team will say that I said that at the beginning of the year, that I think this year's going to be rougher than it was the year before when we were dealing with massive COVID stuff. But coming off of COVID and the restrictions this year was a good thing, but we were hit pretty hard with the flu and other illnesses this year. Our student absences were a lot. So we're hoping next year will be a lot better. I don't know if, wearing masks for a year decreased people's immunity, and then last year or this year when we didn't have masks on, it was more sicknesses. I don't know what the reason is, but it's been a challenging year, and will be. I think I see people that work at other schools nodding their heads because it's everywhere. Everybody's saying the same thing, that it's just been a really difficult year. So hearing the test scores that you guys are reporting is very, very great to hear. That even though we were challenged, we still stepped up to the plate, and our kids did a nice job. As you can see by the agenda, we have several employees that we're hiring. I'd like to commend my administrative staff and all those involved with the interviewing of these new employees. They put together interview teams, and their decisions were based on the views of several others serving on the interview team. In the end, the final decision is always the principals and myself, and I've always stood firm by our motto here that we hire who we think is the best person for the students. It's not always based on their years of experience, because you can always hire a younger person, and it's cheaper than veteran people. But we do take that into consideration. But in the end, it comes down to who we feel is the best person to put in front of those kids, and we stand strong by that. So as these new employees find out that the expectations for both students and staff are set very high here, and our turnover is very low at Hicksville, we believe it's because of the environment, the culture, the positive atmosphere that attracts great candidates. So a huge shout out to my administrative team for all they do in searching for new candidates, and we've had several this year. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to Joey Stevenson and Chris Gagan for yet another successful art show. I was actually out of town at a professional development event and missed the show, which really disappointed me, because that's usually when I get someone taking a picture of me with a backpack sweeper on my, with a suit on, sweeping the floor to hurry and get it ready for the art show. But I enjoy that day very much. It's a great showcase for our kids. I haven't heard nothing but great comments, as I would have expected. I thank all the students for their participation in the art show. I also thank all the staff members who helped Mr. Stevenson and Mr. Gahagan set everything up, run it, and clean it up after the event. And I commend them as well for their excellent work teaching our students art and for doing the art show each year. They're two dynamic teachers. I recently returned from a visit to RCA. I took all of our new employees. Due to COVID, we weren't able to go there the last couple of years. So there was a total of 8 of us that went, and we'll be getting back on track with our visits to RCA for new employees moving forward now. We also will be reviewing our RCA strategies over the summer, and like all programs, they need rejuvenated each year, and you look at what was successful and what wasn't and try to fine-tune things to make it better for next year. We believe the Hicksville initiative that it was sparked by the RCA organization is very much worth keeping. We're looking forward to next year and working with our students on strategies learned this past week. Thank you to the board for believing in this program. I know that, when I started as superintendent and we brought Mr. Clark here, and it was a turning point for our district, and it's been very positive. Some years have been more effective than others, but bottom line, it is a professional development program that we've invested in and believe in, and I know you both have been there, right? And it's an experience that you go to and you can't come back and explain it to people. It's emotional. It's an incredible professional development event, and I'm really thankful that we're allowed to do that here. So I actually touched base with Anita today, and I said these are the dates that I want to go in September with new employees. So any of our new employees will be getting approached here soon because I want to take them to Atlanta as well. It was exciting that, of course, I've been there several times, but Mr. Clark recognized me right away, of course, and gave me a big hug. So he's glad that we come too. And as part of there's different workshops that you go to, and the last workshop is where one of the co-founders, Kim Bearden, is speaking to the entire group. And Mr. Clark was weeding people out as they were going in for this program, and I was one that got pulled out. Well, to come to find out, it was because we had tags on if we'd been there more than once, and I've been there more than once, that's for sure. And so those that had been there more than once actually received a private tour of the RCA place where people don't typically get to go and see. And it was pretty exciting, some of the things that I saw, some of the stories that he told. Of course, he was on the show Survivor, and so he has this area built that's like a Survivor area and has the actual idol and stuff that he used during that. But it was pretty exciting, and I was thrilled to be a part of that. And so anyhow, very appreciative that you are willing to keep supporting that program. And the only other thing I have is that if possible, I'd like to keep your iPads tonight, if possible, so Jeff can update them, Jeff Schaefer, and then he'll get them back to you right away. If you can't, then he'll get with you and make arrangements to get them. But he's got some updates that he wants to put on there, and he's pretty quick about that. So I don't think you'll be without it very long. So. Any questions for me? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Keith. Okay, I need a motion for minutes and financials.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Jen. Okay, minutes from the regular board meeting on April 18th, 2022. Treasurer's consent agenda items. Cash reconciliation as of April 30, 2022. Financial statements for April 2022. Approve amended official certificate of estimated resources for fiscal year 2022 as presented. Total general fund resources of $15,636,603.60, and total resources for all funds of $21,802,189.16. Approve amended fiscal year 2022 permanent appropriations as presented. Total general fund appropriations of $12,024,820.65, and total appropriations for all funds of $16,233,377.33. Approve the following then and now certificate. For PNC Bank, $12,497.60 for the RCA conference. Authorize the treasurer to enter the group experience rating workers' compensation program administered by Sedgwick as the district's third-party administrator, effective with the policy year beginning January 1, 2023. Approve fiscal year 2022 five-year forecast as presented. Cash balance as of June 30, 2026, line 7.020 as negative $841,994. So I'll let Mike put some color on some of that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, that negative amount, I will get to that here shortly and show how we can turn that into a positive, hopefully quite easily. But the forecast, the revenue line amounts for fiscal year 22, since we are so far in the year, close to the end, a lot of those numbers are actuals. The first three lines, the property tax, the tangible personal property tax, income tax, dropping down to the property tax allocation, those are all actual amounts for the year. They have all been received, no more activity for this year. The unrestricted grants and aids, which is mostly the foundation, and there could be a slight change to that, but that won't change much in the month of June. So those numbers essentially should be pretty well spot on. And going out years, a lot of the totals going in the years been based on historical data, or for the most part, as far as how property tax has reacted in the past and how it reacts to triennial updates and reevaluations. So those numbers just fall forward through the forecasted period. Expenditure side, once again, a lot of those expenditures, none of them are exact, as there will be expenditures and sometimes unknown expenditures that come over the last month of the school year or the fiscal year. However, they should be very close to where we end up. As far as the line 3.010, personal services, that is wages, I have forecasted years 23, 24, 25 based on the offer that we have given to the union during negotiations. So that is just based on what our offer is. Obviously, or if not obviously, maybe to some, but our negotiations are still ongoing. So I prefer not to get in too much detail about that at this time. Insurance benefits, we expect some increases through the next few years. So that is also based on expected increases in the consortium, along with proposal on insurance that's been provided also to the union. Items such as the purchase services, supplies and materials, those line items moving forward have been increased at a rate of about 3% per year. The capital outlay, you will see that go up and down. So currently the $85,000 is this year's amount as we stand today, and then it will go up about $100,000 next year, then down and back up. Years 23 and 25 are projections for purchase of a bus in each of those years. You will see the line items down 4.055 and 4.06, the fairly large amounts there. That is the repayment of the lease purchase agreement for the monies that we took out to build the new facility. That is 10 years. We've got 1 year payment in. Once again, as I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, if we have monies left over in our capital project fund, we can use those funds to apply against these expenditures. Transfers out as you go down, the $50,000 line item, At the beginning of the year, I had projected that to be about $70,000, as I projected that we'd have maybe about $20,000 to go transfer into the lunchroom fund. Well, as Mr. Denny Vetters stated, how Fort County Career Center has done very well with their lunchroom fund, so have we. We are currently around $100,000 in the black, and I think we may finish the year at that. Again, since I've been here just a few years, we've been negative each year. I don't really know for sure how it goes back prior to that time, but yes, the federal program for funding free and reduced has absolutely helped us tremendously. I also give kudos to Melissa Crawford, our lunchroom supervisor. I think she's made some moves and done some things that also have helped us balance. So anyways, we'll see how that goes, because as of right now, that federal program for free and reduced lunches will go away, and does not appear at all that it will be back starting next year. It will go back to the old format, which you actually have to apply for, and it will be only those that have applied and are eligible for the free and reduced. So, as I kind of mentioned earlier on, that negative turned into a positive. That would be on line 12.010. So between the negative and the positive is the renewal of the income tax levy, the 0.75 that started collecting in 2020. For the forecast, we cannot assume, and we do not assume, that that will be passed. So therefore, in the upper part, that money is being taken out of there as the forecast would be reduced and be put down below in line 11.010, the renewal of the income tax. So obviously, I think that will be very important to be able to maintain the great services we do. So when that time comes up, obviously we'll look at it again, but I think it will be very important to highly consider that levy moving forward. Does anybody have some questions?
Well, just looking at the last forecast, going out to 2025, line 7.02, there's a big difference from November's forecast.
Okay.
I'm just curious why there's such a big, because so 7.020, it was 3,595,168.
So are you're looking at last May or this past November?
It doesn't say right in my first page that I'm looking at.
While they're looking at that, I just would like to comment on the school lunches, that what that means is they won't be free next year. So kind of want our parents to know that next year lunches will not be free for everyone like it has been for the last 2 years. You have to fill out the form to see if you qualify for it to be free or not. So there'll be a lot of people that will not be eligible for free or reduced lunches next year. So just want everybody to know that.
Keith, is it all right if I remind people that that summer lunch program is free and it's still going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just changing location.
Right.
So what's the best way to apply for that?
Well, every year at the
Still
beginning,
done here?
every year at the beginning of the year, we send home free and reduced forms to every student. So parents have to fill that out, and then they send it back, and we see if they qualify or not. Now, there's a lot of people, obviously, that don't qualify, and they don't send it back, but they know that they're not going to qualify. But those that might qualify should fill it out and send it back, and then their student or their child could eat for free or reduced, number one. In addition, their school fees would be waived as well. So, but if they don't fill out the form,
I thought it was worth asking because everybody might be out of practice.
Well, exactly. That's exactly right, Galen, because, each year we always have several that don't take the time to fill out the form, and then they start getting notifications from the cafeteria that they owe money, and they can't understand why, and we need the form in order to see if you qualify. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, speaking to Mrs. Carrier, looking at what she was looking at November's forecast, November of 21, and looking at essentially the bottom line for the end of fiscal year 25. And yes, this forecast is quite a bit lower, some $1 million or so at that same time. The two biggest areas would be wages and benefits. The income actually slightly is higher in my recent forecast, today's forecast, but the payroll and benefits, as we've found out more as far as the expectation of what's going to happen with insurance costs, and as we're going through negotiations, it's projected that those two areas will increase dramatically.
Mike, one more question here. How come income tax goes up so much? We go from, in 2019, we went from just over 900,000 to 2022, 4 years later, we're at 2.2 million.
Well, that's a great question. That is two things that affect that. First of all, it was the renewal, or not the renewal, the passage of the extra 0.75 income tax. And so that collection started basically January of 2020. And it takes about 1.5 years for that to completely come aboard. So the original projection for that would have been close to that $903,000. So when that was when these levies are put on the ballot, we first contact the State of Ohio Department of Taxation, and they provide an estimate. And so that estimate was probably $905,000 or thereabouts. So when it's fully collected, if there was no increase on income tax, and it stayed level, you'd expect that to be doubled by the time we got full collections, so 1.8 million. Well, we've done quite a bit better than that, but there's also another factor in fiscal year 22. If you look at 22 versus 23, we'll see a decrease of about $70,000. That, once we've received the full amount of the income tax for the new levy, there's a bump year, I guess you could say. We receive a greater collection than normal as things catch up. So there's a slight dip in that, and then you will see expenditure increases. I think it's 4% in years 24, 25, and 26. And 4% is a little higher than I normally go with, but I think over the last couple of years, the increase has probably been around 11%. So back that down, obviously, if we had 11%, that would be great every year. I think a lot of people would be happy, but it's 4% moving forward. Another thing on the wages and benefits, there's been a lot of movement as far as staffing, people coming and people leaving, but also with the addition of some positions really related to COVID. We added a third grade teacher because that area has been struggling. We're bringing on a social worker because that is something that can also help with the kids that have struggled, and a lot of it has been due to the COVID period. A lot of that is being taken care of initially through grants, ESSER grants, and ARP, IDEA grant, etc. Those grants fall off at different times. Some of them will last, we're a 2-year period, ESSER 2 this year and next year, with 3 people associated with that. There is a ARP, IDEA grant that we'll use towards a social worker. Unfortunately, it's not enough to take care of all that cost, but it'll take care of most of that cost next year. And we have ESSER 3 grant that will be taking care of some positions through 2024, so next year and the year after. But then some of those people will then fall off the grants and then fall back onto the general fund. So that's kind of calculated in there throughout there. What's not calculated in the forecast is retirements of people past this year. As there probably will be some, but there's none that are known at this time. At least that, not to my knowledge, that is going to happen. Nobody else has submitted a resignation for a different year or anything, which is typical. Doesn't happen usually until that year. So that is not factored in. That would be a savings of somewhat throughout the forecasted period.
Thank you for your report. You answered our questions.
All right.
I appreciate every time you talk to us.
All right, you're
Yep.
welcome. Thank you.
As always,
And-
awesome work.
Also, as I'll be releasing to you guys the notes aspect of this, which I've talked to you a lot about, but as you look at that and have any other questions, reach out to me at any time. That's fine. I appreciate it.
What did the budget change, like in diesel fuel prices this year for the buses?
That's a good question.
Wow.
That's a great question.
We're up to, I think, about $5 a gallon. It's probably up at least 50%. So that, kind of
Yeah.
didn't go up all at once, but it didn't take long to get up there. So we're going to add, normally we're at probably $20,000 at least extra, I'm going to guess, maybe even some more, just because of the gas inflation.
Do we buy that fuel on contract?
No, we do not.
Maybe something to look at. I don't know if there's any savings there or
Thank you.
not.
Yeah.
Like for a fleet price or something. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Yep. You guys are welcome.
Moving on. Accept the following donations. $250 from Jim Schmidt Family of Dealerships for football. $500 from Kiwanis Club of Hicksville for grade 3. $500 from anonymous donor for scholarships in memory of Noah Carrickson and Denise Overmeyer. Need a vote.
We have already had, yes.
Yeah, we already moved.
I'll do the
need
reading.
the roll call for the
Okay.
vote.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Need a motion for employment of certified staff.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Jen. Menda. Still looking at the other page. Recommend to accept the retirement resignation from Sandra Brown as classroom instructor for the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year, with the last date of service to be May 31, 2022. Recommend to accept the retirement resignation from Laurie Turnbull as classroom instructor at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year, with the last date of service to be May 31, 2022. Recommend to accept the resignation from Donald Perna as classroom instructor at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year. Recommend to accept the resignation from Andrew Lawrence as head softball coach at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year or at the end of the season. Recommend to non-renew all certified supplemental contracts at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year or at the end of the activity. Recommend to approve Kelsey Clemens as summer school instructor to provide a maximum of 60 hours of instruction at current hourly rate. Recommend to approve Andrew Lawrence as summer credit recovery instructor to provide a maximum of 72 hours of credit recovery through the Digital Learning Center at current hourly rate. Sessions will be held on the following dates from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., June 6th to June 10th, June 13th to June 16th, June 20th to June 24th, June 27 to June 30. Recommend issuing a one-year limited contract to Jacqueline Siebenauer as classroom teacher with 1 year experience at a master's degree for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend issuing a 1 year limited contract to Emily Sell as classroom teacher with 5 years experience at a bachelor's degree for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend issuing a 1 year limited contract to Madison Weller as classroom teacher with 0 years experience at a bachelor's degree for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend issuing a 1 year limited contract to Amanda Wyman as high school guidance counselor with 7 years experience at a master's degree for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend to approve the updated certified substitute list provided monthly by NWOESC for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend to approve the following as substitute teachers for the 2022-2023 school year: Michaela Bauer, Paula Campbell, Kelsey Clemens, Gail Countryman, Sharon Kreitz, Nancy Swift, Ed Foster, Paul Overmeyer, Pam Payne, Dennis Siebenek, and Kevin Snyder. Recommend to approve the following supplemental contracts for the 2022-2023 school year: Josh Fries, head girls basketball coach; David Moore, co-head junior high football coach; David Moore, co-head junior high football assistant coach; David Moore, head wrestling coach; Paul Payne, Mini Aces cross-country coach; Tony Tier, head boys basketball coach; Kelly Van Horn, junior high cross-country assistant coach. Recommend to approve the following as a volunteer for the 2022-2023 school year: Donna Lysett, cross-country. And we'll need a vote.
Well, before you do that, a lot of comments to make here.
Okay.
So, Sandy, I'm going to hold you
A lot of
off
reading, too.
to a little later, okay? Lori Turnbull, I just want to say what an amazing teacher Lori has been. She's an incredible instructor. I love Lori because she always, I was her principal when she was in the elementary school. She's an amazing reading teacher, and what I loved about Lori the most is that she would come to me every few years, like usually about 5 or 6 years, and she's like, I need to change. And I'd move her to a different grade level, and she was rejuvenated and took off again like crazy. And she is a asset that we are going to miss a lot around here. She's an amazing reading teacher, and I wish her the best on her retirement. It was a really tough decision. Obviously, it's a last-minute thing for her, too, but she's looking forward to spending time with her grandkids. So congratulations to Lori. Don Perna, also going to be a loss. He's not retiring, but he is stepping out of the classroom to take another adventure in life with his business and stuff. So he's not retiring. So he's working on some other things. But Donnie's a great, passionate person, and kids love him, and he's going to be missed in the classroom as well. Let's see. What else do I have in here? Jackie Siebenauer. I'm not going to say this with the camera rolling because that's just, I'm going to skip one sentence. But Jackie Siebenauer is going to be a great asset for us. So the ESC, bless their hearts, they are really struggling to find speech pathologists everywhere. And so our preschool kiddos, that is a service that we pay for through our ESC contract. And so, they haven't been able to find speech people either. So our kids have been getting service via Zoom sessions and stuff like that, which, I don't have much good to say about that. But they're at least trying, and we're thankful for that, and we're appreciative of that. So bottom line, we went out and found our own speech and language person. So that cost will come off of our ESC cost, so it's basically a wash. And then I'll let the principals talk about these other people, Emily Sell, Madison Wheeler, and Amanda Wyman. So you guys do your thing there.
The middle school is pretty excited to have Emily Sell join our 5th grade team. She'll be co-teaching basically all day long with one tutoring session, but such a great personality, very passionate about her kiddos, and I'm sure she'll keep all of them up to where they need to be and flourishing.
So what subject or area?
It would be co-teaching in ELA, co-teaching math, and co-teaching science. 5th grade.
And we're excited to add Madison Weller. She actually is going to be kind of replacing Angie Smith's position. However, we've kind of rearranged the schedule. So she will actually be teaching 3rd grade, 2nd grade, and 3rd grade students.
And actually, I don't know if it was mentioned or not, but which one's middle school? Sorry. Emily. Okay. Emily's actually taking Andrea's job.
Yes.
And Andrea moved in to the MD unit. So neither one is new positions. They're just replacing people that shifted around. That's what I wanted to get out there. Yeah. Mr. Slattery?
To my right, we have Mandy Wyman. She's joined us to be our new high school guidance counselor, so we're awfully excited about that. She's actually spent the last 7 years at Pettisville High School as the high school guidance counselor. She's a native of Bryan. Her family lives there. I will tell you this, just in the interview process, and then of course the second interview, which is a little bit more informal, her knowledge, her wealth of knowledge, and her excitement to provide opportunities for our kids, I mean, kind of, put me back on my heels a little bit. And then sitting here in the board meeting, she's paying attention to everything you guys are saying, and she's up here saying, you got to fill out that free reduced form, free ACT, free W, just everything she's saying for the kids that they're going to benefit from. So we're excited to have her joining us next fall.
Okay, did I miss anybody besides Sandy that I'll let you have later? Okay, I think that's it. So again, kudos to the administrative team for the amount of time that they've spent interviewing our applicant or our new candidates, and thank you for coming in and spending some time with me so I have an opportunity to get to know you as well. So,
And thank you for coming here.
Yeah,
Yes.
welcome.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, welcome to all of you. I have a question. Is David just the only coach for the junior high football team? Or I'm not quite sure why it's set up that way. I guess I should have asked it.
Sometimes they will split
Duties.
They'll split duties, and my understanding is, number one, he wants to coach high school, but his daughter is an avid softball player, does travel, all things like that, so we can't commit to the weekends of Friday night football. But he's definitely going to be an integral part of the junior high program, and a couple of the assistant coaches are coming in there, just kind of splitting the pay between them. And I think just maximizing opportunities for everybody. That's my understanding.
well, our head football coach, Lucas Smith, he's very creative when it comes to splitting this and splitting that and getting every penny's worth out of me that he can. So he does a really good job of that, and I'm really appreciative of Lucas's creativity of using individuals to advance his program.
I just wanted to ask, Max, right? Where are you from? Arizona? So, what's yes. Okay. Welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you here.
Indeed. That it?
Any other questions?
Now we'll do a vote. All right. Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin? Yes. Motion carries 5-0. And we need another motion.
Oh, good. First.
Eric? Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Steph. Recommend to non-renew the following contracts at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year. Kelsey Clemens, Stacy Wagner, Kayla Vetter.
And just a quick comment on that. I know Mr. Vetter had asked that at the beginning of the board meeting, but as a reminder, these are title teachers that are automatically non-renewed each year, and then we have to wait and see what our funding is that Kirsten fills out in order to see how many we get to have back. But we have every intentions of having all 3 of them back as title teachers. They did a great job.
And we'll do a vote, please.
All right. Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Abstain.
Mrs. Jones? Or Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry. Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0, 1 abstention. Need another motion, please?
I'll move. I'll second.
Thanks, Minda. Thanks, Jen. Recommend to accept the resignation from Michael Altman as middle school principal at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year.
I have some comments on that too. So, oh, these administrators that I'm losing, it's been difficult. Mr. Andy Hunter, who is creating a job at the ESC, is creating a position as a math consultant that person will go around then at different districts in 23 different schools and work with math. I don't know what all you're going to be doing, Mike, but math, it's focused on math. He's telling me about it. I'm like, you're going to steal Mike Altman. I know you are. He goes, no, I'm not. He goes, he's not going to apply. Well, I said, you want the best math person you can get, right? And he said, yes. And I said, well, if Mike Altman applies, then that's who you're going to end up hiring. And of course, he kept telling me, no, no, no. I knew it was going to happen, and Mr. Altman was very gracious at coming in and letting me know that he had applied for that position. So I did talk to Andy numerous times, and you know, it's a no-brainer. If you're looking for someone that's really dynamic as a math teacher, you're not going to find anyone any better than Mr. Altman. So he was a great loss for us in the classroom, which is why I was like, no, I don't want you as the middle school principal. I need you to stay in the classroom. But he had changed and became administrator for us here at the school and has done a great job. So, Mike, I wish you the best. Thank you for your years of service here to Hicksville and for stepping up to the plate and being a middle school principal for us. And then Jeff's not on here, but the same thing kind of happened with him. So, you know, I'm starting to freak out a little bit. Maybe it's me. That's why these people are all leaving. I don't know. But Jeff, I don't think he was even thinking about applying for the position that he's been hired for County Career Center. And, you know, I sent a text out because I thought, you know, he's got one class away from his superintendent course, and I sent an email out to the team. I wonder what's going to happen with that County Career Center superintendent position. I said, I think that'd be a pretty good gig. I was, you know, if I had more years, I might have considered that myself. So it is a good gig for a superintendent there as a, you know, very stressful job like any other superintendent position, but yet the duties are very different from a regular school district. I mean, he's got 23 school districts, but anyhow, he kind of texted back the group, and I, you know, I encouraged Mr. Slattery to apply. He's about done with his superintendent classes. I've always said I'm not going to stand in the way of someone who's going to improve themselves professionally. If he wanted to go somewhere else and be a high school principal, I had told him no, and I wouldn't let him go. But yeah. It's you know, I've also said that we're all replaceable, and we are. I'll find someone else to replace Mr. Altman. It won't be Mr. Altman. It'll be someone else with different strengths as well. And same thing for Jeff. Now, Jeff's not leaving till December. Both of them are a huge loss. I remember the night I called Mr. Slattery at, like, I don't know. This has been a long time ago, my second year as superintendent, and I basically secretly called him and had a secret meeting here at the school at like 9 o'clock at night because I said, I don't want anybody to know that you're coming in. And
It's like my first date with my wife. She said no.
Well, both of them, I'm really grateful for Jeff.
I think you hit it on the head earlier
Yeah.
when you talked about the teachers, that we attract great teachers and we hire awesome teachers. And I think the same thing is said for our administration. We have such an awesome school here that other people are attracted to our leaders because they see what great things they do here.
Yeah.
So I can't,
Well, they're both very
Yeah,
passionate
yours.
about education.
exactly. And
So-
I can't be mad at Mr. Altman for going and teaching all the little kiddos everywhere and showing the other teachers how to be great, because you were amazing.
Well, I appreciated that secret meeting we had, Mr. Slattery, 9 years ago? 8 years
Yeah,
ago?
9 years ago.
9 years ago, and you're going to be missed a lot, so thank you so much.
I have to say, it was so funny when you sent that text message to us. We're all sitting at home, and I saw the job posted a few days before, and I was like, oh, job posting, that'd be awesome. I just kind of turned the page, and I waited till the very last day to apply after I spoke to Keith, and I think I didn't sleep for like 3 nights because I was so worried about the school and the friendships and my peers here and the kids and the community, and it's been a wild ride the last couple of weeks. Now, I will say this, and since I know some people watch HIX-TV and Facebook and all that stuff, it's like it's been amazing. The community members and how many people. I think I've had hundreds of text messages and phone calls, and it usually starts off with, "Why are you leaving? Where are you going? Are you going to come back?" all that stuff. But it just makes me appreciate my time here and the opportunity that Keith gave me and everyone else. And I honestly, I never thought I'd leave here. Minda and I spoke about this a few years ago. My goal is to be high school principal, superintendent, retired. So this was not expected, and I just appreciate the opportunity for guys going to give, and I hope I can fill Tim Meister's shoes and do a great job out there. So, but thank you.
I think, for us and for the community, you guys are both hometown guys that have poured your hearts and passions back into our kids. So we're thankful.
Plus,
And that's the hard part right there.
Yeah.
you would more than fill Tim's shoes because his are like 3 sizes smaller than yours.
Yeah, someone put that comment on Facebook. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, vote please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Yeah, we would have all voted no if we really could have.
If we could.
You could have.
Yeah, but not really.
Okay, another motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Minda. Recommend to approve the following as special education instructor for the 2022-2023 school year. Stacy Wagner at 2022-2023 teacher hourly rate, not to exceed 4 hours per day. This will be funded through title funds.
Might be a typo there.
Anybody have any commentary on that? We good? Okay. Vote, please.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Abstain.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. Need a motion for employment of classified staff.
Second.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Jen. Recommend to approve Elizabeth Knox as a classified substitute for the 2021-2022 school year. Recommend to accept the resignation from Lisa Early as cheerleading assistant at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year. Recommend to accept the resignation from Nicole Miller as cheerleading advisor at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year. Recommend to accept the resignation from Riley Whitty as cheerleading advisor, grades 7 through 8, at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year. Recommend to non-renew all classified supplemental contracts at the conclusion of the 2021-2022 school year or at the end of the activity. Recommend to approve the following as classified substitutes for the 2022-2023 school year. Gail Countryman, Teresa Evans, Sherry Hedge, Elizabeth Knox, Nancy Swift, Pam Payne, Jeff Sleesman, Rick Straley, Sue Strubing. Recommend to approve the updated classified substitute list monthly by NWOESC for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend to approve the following supplemental contracts for the 2022-2023 school year. Justin Davis, football assistant coach. Justin Davis, Mini Aces football coach. John Deal, football coordinator. Ashley Doctor, head junior high volleyball coach. Josh Flannery, football assistant coach. Brody Langham, football special teams coordinator. Samantha Lavin, Mini Aces volleyball coach. Alex McLaughlin, volleyball assistant coach. Eddie Tunis, co-head junior high football coach. Eddie Tunis, co-head junior high football assistant coach. Randy Van Scooter, freshman volleyball coach. Brian Wonderly, football assistant coach. Recommend to approve the following as volunteers for the 2022-2023 school year. Zach Heisler, football. Pam Payne, cross country.
Well, there's a lot in there, wasn't there? Just to comment on Lisa Early and Nicole Miller, who've been the cheerleading advisors for a few years. What an amazing amount of hours those ladies put in, and Riley Whitty for that matter too. So, you know, we're appreciative of all that they've done for our cheer program. So, just wanted to make sure I mentioned them.
You know, Mr. Benjamin, I have to say this for the next high school principal. You know, I am the Hicksville Aces cheerleading liaison. I work very closely with the cheerleading advisors and the team, and I appreciate all the time and effort they put into that program. And that is the longest season, and people don't realize that. Their season starts pretty much in May and June. They have tryouts, and their season goes all summer long, competitions. They have football cheer, basketball cheer goes usually until March, you know, late March, so they don't get much time off, and it's a lot of time and effort, so we appreciate what they've done, and I know their kids have all graduated now, so they're kind of stepping away, and we do have a handful of applicants already for those positions. I'll be working on that next week after commencement.
If you want to talk about big shoes to fill, the girls performing year after year excellently at competitions is just, it's remarkable for such a small school, especially with all of the tumbling that's out there, and they just are spot on.
Okay, vote please.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Another motion, please.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you, Eric. Recommend issuing a 2-year limited contract beginning with the 2022-2023 school year to the following classified staff. Stacy Wagner. Vote, please.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier? Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes.
I should have mentioned that's bus driving,
Thank
isn't
you.
it? Part of it? Yeah, it's bus driving.
Motion carries 4-0 with 1 abstention. I need a motion for services and agreements.
I'll move.
Thanks, Jen.
I'll second.
Thanks, Minda. Recommend to approve a mentor program service agreement with Northwest Ohio Educational Service Center for the 2022-2023 school year. Recommend to approve a technical service agreement with Northern Buckeye Educational Council from July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2023. Recommend to approve a service agreement with Defiance County Board of Developmental Disabilities to provide educational services from August 2022 to June 2023. The district will be assessed $6,000 per student for the excess cost.
You may remember that that cost was $5,000, and they've raised that $1,000 this year. And if we had to send those students like to the IEC, for example, we'd be spending a lot more than the $6,000. So just wanted you to know that.
Thanks for the detail.
Yeah.
Vote, please.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
Mr. Methvin?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0. Need a motion for other business.
I'll move. I'll second.
Was that Minda?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jen. Recommend to approve the 2022 list of graduates pending completion of all requirements. Recommend to approve a resolution to initiate procedure under Ohio law for the reemployment of retired employee Sandra Brown. Recommend to approve the following new revised Board of Education bylaws policies. Employment of administrators, College Credit Plus program, employment of professional staff, employment of classified staff, dress and grooming, weapons, grant funds, cost principles spending federal funds, procurement, federal grants, funds, use of credit cards, weapons, food services. You have any?
I do have a comment. So thankfully, we're not losing Mrs. Brown, and Mrs. Brown had asked if she could address you folks tonight. So
I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to go forward on your opportunity. I've heard a lot of talk about how great the school system is here at this meeting tonight, and people wanting to come here, but it starts at the top leadership. And I want to thank the board for being such a great, I appreciate your leadership. And you come from a community that has a passion for our school, and that's what makes us so great. From superintendent, school board, staff, students, and a community, all supporting together and working together. And it's a great place to work. I have a passion for teaching, and I appreciate you letting me have that joy in my life of coming here every day to a wonderful place to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you because I think you have one of the most tender hearts for little kids, and I see that over and over again. Whether it was through the park program or the free lunch program or the after-school program, in the classroom, all around, you have such a tender heart for those little kids, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you had both my babies, so thank you.
and as you know, there's a process you have to go through with retirement, rehire, and you know, we've had conversations about that in the past. So
And I just want to say to the public, you know, some people, you know, even Denny mentioned, are not always for that, but it's a great savings for the school, and it's a great opportunity, you know, for the teachers that retire, and then, I mean, what could be, I mean, as a school board, as administrators, you know who you're getting, you know what they're like, you know, you get to keep, you get to keep the best, and I just think, in combination with the savings that it is for the school, it's all around a great program, so.
it's quite simple, really. I mean, Sandy's eligible for retirement, and she'd be foolish not to, but yes, she's not ready to leave, and we're thankful of that. So
Very much so.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, vote please.
Okay. Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier?
Yes.
Mrs. Mazur?
Yes.
Mr. Vetter?
Yes.
And Mr. Methvin?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Any old business? Talked about the road.
Just a question, Keith, about the teacher appreciation thing. What is that day?
The picnic?
Yeah,
Oh, the
picnic
picnic?
thing.
That's June 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah. I can jokingly say this because I've said this to my staff before. You've heard me say this before. I know, right? it's never good when I do go off on a whim like this, but I think what I'm about to say shows how much I really do respect our educators. And I've always said that, everybody at this time of the year, at every school, I don't care where you're going, everybody's ready to get out. The kids are ready for their break. The teachers are ready for their break. And I jokingly one time told my staff, I said, they've got this teacher appreciation time all wrong because they have Teacher Appreciation Week in May. And I said, I don't appreciate you in May. Because I'm not any different than the kids or anyone else, and I'm ready to get out of here too. Or, not ready to get out. I'm going to be here all summer long, but I'm ready for them to get out. People will say, "Oh, will you be glad when the kids leave?" And I'm like, "No, I'll be glad when the teachers leave." So, my birthday's June 3rd. That's Teacher Work Day, so I get a beautiful present, and I'm going to send my teachers off, and they know I love them. That's why I can say this. They're good with it. We have the best teachers around, and I've always said that. And they're an extraordinary group of people that I'm thankful to send off June 3rd, for them to get rejuvenated as well, to come back and do the great things that we do here at Hicksville. So, teachers, you all know I love you to death, but yeah, I'll be waving in the parking lot that day as you leave.
I have to say that's a very different message than the one you give at the Welcome Back breakfast in September.
Yeah, that's always different too, isn't it? Yeah.
That's what Teacher Appreciation Day in September.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming back.
Well, there's a lot of truth to it, really. I mean, when you think about that, so.
And Jen said something to the community. So as an educator outside of being on the school board, I would like the community to know that we do not get 3 months off, because those of us that are teachers still work in the summer. We just work without our kids. So just letting you know that. Teacher appreciation should be right after you finish testing. Because they have worked, and you know that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very obvious this year.
Well, actually, the last day of school should be right after testing.
Yeah.
Really,
I
I mean,
agree with that.
Testing should be the end of April.
Yeah, and
Or May.
yeah,
First
well,
of May.
but we don't teach to the test, because if we taught, we have great scores, and that's that's a reflection of the hard work that the kids do, which is a reflection of the hard work that the teachers do for them. So, kids are kids, and our kids know that the expectation is you try really hard on that test, and that doesn't happen if our instructors and teachers aren't drilling that into them all year long with all of the lessons and stuff that they do. So we truly do appreciate our teachers. I'm just jokingly saying all this stuff as a joking way for my staff, and they know it, so I don't feel like I've offended any of them. And yeah, there we go. I could go on, but I won't. I know. I talked to Jeff this morning, and I talked to Kirsten because they're like, "Oh, how was the Ron Clark thing?" And I don't really think I've shut up since, because I've come back all pumped up and ready to roll. So I'm in that rejuvenated mode where I'm getting ready for next year already, and I'm already thinking of the great things that we're going to do, and I know my staff will be with me. So thank you to a wonderful staff for a wonderful year that we've made it through. There.
Any other old business? Not that that's old, that's kind of concurrent business. Any discussion?
Okay, I would love to see, just because there's been so many this year, I would love to see each of you give us who's moving where. Like even if it's a list of teachers in different grade levels, or, this person moved, just like you kind of said for these few people. I'd love to see that.
That'd be super.
From each of you. That.
Even if it's just an email and.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yep.
That's fine. And then I'd also like to know about Nathan's grant.
Mm-hmm.
Is there something going on with that in the summer?
There is. I think it's a 5-week program. The grant, or through us, or the grant, or the people running the grant, we've hired Ashley, is her last name Smith? What's her last name, do you? It used to be Ashley Zedike.
It is Smith, yeah.
It is Smith, isn't it? So she's going to be taking that program over for Nathan, so she'll be leading that up this summer, that 5-week program. But yes, Nathan still has his nose in it and helping out with that, but it just was too much with his regular teaching and stuff to keep it all going and keep your head above water. I know Sandy helped with that, and it is a lot. So the money from the grant, we're not paying anything out of the general fund money for this person to run the grant. The grant is covering that person's cost as well. So
We're super excited about it. So it's 5 weeks in the mornings. So it's going to be in June and then again in August. And they will provide busing for the kids that need it. And they'll be doing a variety of different programs and different activities. I know like 1 week they're going over to the Penny Nature Preserve there at 1518 Defiance.
It all looks really fun.
Yeah.
And all of it looks
Are
fun.
they doing academic things also with the kids? Do you know?
I'm not all sure what is all involved with the 5-week program, but it's not all fun and games, I don't think, no. I mean, they have certain requirements that they have to do. And then the busing, just on a side note, the busing and the driver's fees and the fuel, that'll all get billed to the grant as well. So there'll be no cost to the district out of the general fund for that.
And that, to your point, it all looks educationally valid and relevant. It looks. I'd like to go do some of it. It looks cool.
I just wondered about kids that could possibly be tutored in the summer. If they're doing this, would that replace the tutoring, or would they still need the tutoring because this is a different way of learning?
I think it's a different way of looking
Yeah.
at it. The tutoring is really, they don't have the exact standards of what standards they're assessing, where this is more just general knowledge, and it's learning through your hands.
Okay?
Okay. Nobody is here unannounced. So we'll be going into executive session. Say 7:35. 7:25, sorry.
For items 1 and 4.
For
So
1
we'll
and
have to
4.
go in, then come out, and then go back in.
For each one.
Mhm.
We won't make any decisions in that executive session, so I need a motion to adjourn.
Well, we want to make,
Motion to go into executive
A
session.
motion to go into executive session?
Yeah, do we
All right.
need to mention the date of the next meeting is in this part here?
All right.
we did move that, right?
We did?
Didn't we move that last month? It should be at the end of June, June 27th.
You had somewhere to be, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next meeting,
I think we talked about it last month.
June, we did, and I can't remember what date.
June
it was. June
27th. Same time, same place.
June 27 at 5:30.
I'll be gone that day.
Well, that's funny because I've got flight and it's got a number here and it's like, I don't know where I'm going on June 27th. Am I flying somewhere I don't know about?
It's funny, I have it on here too, someone put it on the gym calendar. It popped up on my
I
phone.
think that must be a mistake then
Yeah,
because,
someone put it on the high school gymnasium calendar, they're flying from Fort Wayne to, well, where the heck that is. Wow,
well, it's not me then.
not me.
Nope.
Plan my schedule according to.
So the 27th?
I'm sorry. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And you guys weren't here. That's right.
And,
Okay.
and since we're on the discussion item, typically we try to do a lot in June so we don't have to do a July meeting, but we have to do a July meeting this year because there's something that we have to do as far as the retire piece for Mrs. Brown that has to be done at that July meeting. So it might just be a short little meeting to take care of that one thing, because typically I try to not do a July meeting if we don't need to.
On the regular day in July?
Or just a morning meeting, you mean like?
It could be a regular meeting. Now, I will say that the meeting would be scheduled for the 18th of July, and I won't be here either in July on that day, but I don't have to be here for what needs to be done. So, I mean, we're talking like a 5-minute meeting.
And I won't be here on the 18th.
You won't?
No, I'm seeing Sir Elton
Well,
John in concert
okay, so as we,
Ooh,
okay.
That's a good one.
on the pool.
Oh, I wanted to, yeah. Well,
Let's have our meeting there.
yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to check because I have to stick within a certain number of days
Yeah,
for
that's
this
fine.
meeting. So I'll get with you on the July thing. So just
That's fine.
a heads up on that.
Okay, just let us know what works in July.
Okay.
Mr. Messman, real quick, I know that, I know reason number 1 for the executive session is personnel. What is reason number 4?
Negotiation.
Okay, just so, people always ask.
Nope, thank you.
What's item 1, what's item 4?
So we need a motion to move into executive session for item 1.
I saw it.
So,
I'll second
Steph, so moved. Thank you, Steph.
So it's
Thank you,
just the
Minda.
third time I've said it, so.
Oh, sorry.
So actually, 27th of June,
Yep.
I'll move my flight.
I have to move this flight.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Oh, roll call. Sorry.
Mrs. Mazur?
We got so sidetracked.
Mrs.
So
Jones?
terribly bad.
Yes.
Mrs. Carrier? Mr. Vetter? Mr. Methvin?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Okay, how hard would it?